Coming up on Patriots Today, does Jerod Mayo love North Carolina quarterback Drake Maye? He sounded off on the top QB prospect at the NFL owners meetings. We're going to talk about that and dive into what Mayo said and give our reaction to it. But before we do all of that, we've got a March-like battle here on Patriots Today among 5 of our channels here at Chat Sports. We're sitting in third. Dolphins Today about 1,000 likes ahead of us. Giants now about 800 likes ahead of us. We got Falcons Today cleared by a little bit, so same with Vikings now. Can we beat Dolphins Today and Giants now? If so, hit the like button. Come on, we can't be losing to those pesky Miami Dolphins. Let's take them down. Like this video if you want to win this competition. All right, here's what Jerod Mayo had to say about Drake Maye. He said Maye had a fantastic interview at the Combine. He brings a lot of energy. You can tell he has that leadership ability. Also, the exciting part about a guy like Drake Maye, there is really no ceiling with a guy like that. In saying that, when we're trying to put together this roster, I know a lot of people look at the ceiling, but you also have to look at how low the floor is. I would say a guy like Drake Maye, he has a lot of room to grow. He's a young guy. Honestly, he hasn't played football nearly as much as these other guys. That's definitely something we've looked at, but he's definitely going to develop. And there's some interesting stuff in there, Nick Roloff. I think 2 things that stand out to me other than the great interview, energetic, yada, 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 is he brings in factoring in the floor when talking about them, which, of course, all teams do. But also, I thought the kind of weird quote was the experience factor. He's only played about half a season less than Caleb Williams. He's played virtually the same amount of football as J.J. McCarthy, who I guess McCarthy played a little bit as a freshman, but not much. I get 2 years isn't like a crazy number, and you've got guys like Jayden Daniels who are a 5-year starter, so sure he's not going to have that amount of playing experience. But why is Jayden Daniels a 5-year starter? Because he couldn't go pro after year 3 or year 4. He wasn't a good enough prospect. So, I think there's a give and take there. So I'm wondering what you make of it all.
Yeah, I thought it was certainly an odd response. He goes off and he answers the question initially, raving about him, how It was a great interview. And all the reports coming out of the NFL Combine, by the way, was how well Drake Maye interviewed because he showed his leadership and energy and just passion to win. And he actually drew some comps to Phillip Rivers in terms of his personality and the way he's so fired up to compete and stuff like that. So that's obviously a good sign. Even though Phillip Rivers didn't win anything on the big national stage, he was one of the biggest and fiery competitors in the NFL.
Had a great career,
honestly, for the Chargers. So it is a good thing that Jerod Mayo had the same takeaway and the Patriots had the same takeaway from that meeting with Drake Maye. But I also did find it fascinating that after he went on and raved about his ceiling and the way he acts and the way he carries himself, he then shits on him. He does. He says he's got a low floor and that he does not play as much as the other prospects, which I agree with you, Harrison. When did 2 years of being a full-time starter become not a lot of experience?
Well,
that is the standard.
Well, especially in today's day and age, right? A lot of guys redshirt or don't play a ton as a freshman, and then if they're really good, their second and third years, they go pro. Nothing against Jayden Daniels. He's a good prospect and was awesome this past year. He would have gone earlier if he was better. That's kind of how it works. You don't get Daniels is a rare case of being a 5-year starter and being a top 10 at worst draft pick. That is very unique. Sure, you have 4 or 5-year college quarterbacks, but not starters, right? Joe Burrow was in college for 5 years, but he was stuck behind guys at Ohio State. Then he was a 2-year starter at LSU. If you want to give Daniels a peg up because he's played more, yeah, I think there's value in that. But I don't think a 2-year starter is horrific experience. Now, I will say this, Rolly, guys who come into the NFL with just 1 year of starting experience historically do not pan out.
Yeah,
we saw it with Mitch Trubisky, his college counterpart in North Carolina. 1-year guy, really good that 1 year, but did not pan out in the NFL. But this guy has started 25 games in 2 years, and he's played at a high level. And they've asked him to throw a lot in those 2 years. It's not like they eased him in. So, he's gotten a lot of reps. I thought that was kind of a bizarre hedge on that quote, if you will. We're he's awesome, the personality, the ceiling. We don't like how little he played. The guy started every game for 2 years. It's not like he hasn't played on the football field.
Yeah, I thought it was an odd one to go up here with how much they rave about his personality and his physical traits and ceiling, and then come down here about his playing time, I did think it was weird. More on the conversation coming up, but let us know. This is not should the Patriots. I want to talk directly to you guys. Do you want to draft Drake Maye? Type Y for yes, type N for no. This isn't what the New England Patriots should do. This is your own personal opinion. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I'm typing my Ys. That is for sure. It is important also to note that the pro day for North Carolina is this Thursday, March 28th, and Jerod Mayo and the Patriots front office will be there. We'll talk about Jayden Daniels in a bit too, because his pro day is on Wednesday, and they'll also be there as well. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But they're going to meet with Drake Maye again. So they're going to get another up-close and personal look at the top prospect in North Carolina and Chapel Hill, throwing in his building, throwing to his wide receivers, and then they'll meet extensively with him there again. And to me, Harrison, they have talked about, and I say they, Elliott Wolf and Jerod Mayo in the past, of what they want in a quarterback. They want a high-energy guy who is capable of leading a group of men. Well, that's what Jerod Mayo said. So that's why it confused me a little bit, because the first paragraph was like, oh, this is everything they want in a quarterback. High ceiling, sure you have to develop him, but he checks all the boxes off up here and with his personality. But then why did you go poop on him? I don't really get that.
Now, let's play devil's advocate. Maybe he's talking and he's kind of realizing, like, whoa, like I'm kind of almost going like too heavy pro Drake Maye on. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Maybe he overcompensated. I don't know. I mean, he's a first-time head coach. First time at the NFL owners meetings, like he's doing these, these little media scrums, in heavier detail than he has before. So, maybe he wanted to like continue the smoke screen as we've talked about here. And as you guys look at the pros and cons, like Rolly and I are big believers in Drake Maye's talent. Does that mean it's going to work out? No, of course not. It's quarterbacks in the NFL draft. There's never a guarantee, but I will continue to maintain that outside of Caleb Williams, and by the way, I think Maye is closer to Williams than other guys are to Maye behind him. That's just how I see it. I know others disagree with me. He is the second best quarterback in this draft at worst. A few people think he's the best. I know you think it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation. Who's the guy? Nate Tice, who I actually talked to at the Combine. He's a huge Maye guy. He's actually kind of on an island. He thinks he's QB1, whereas others at this point, Rolly, you're like, you can go behind McCarthy, which that's kind of come out of nowhere. So I just, like, to me, I continue to be puzzled by it all. I don't know what to completely make about Mayo's, like, comments on him. I think it's important that he first talked about the positive. So it's not like we're worried about his flow, but we really like him. It was kind of the opposite. So I still think the Patriots do like him. This pro day will be interesting, just especially to see if they get a private dinner with him or whatever the case may be. So it'll be an interesting couple of days with him, and then Daniels tomorrow, who we'll talk about here in a second as well.
Yeah, you'd expect them to also bring in Drake Maye for a top 30 visit as well.
Both these guys, yeah.
Be on the lookout for that as well. Probably won't bring in Caleb Williams. There's no point to do that. But yeah, I'd imagine the top three quarterbacks in this draft class, Daniels, who we'll get to, Maye, and J.J. McCarthy, will all have top 30 meetings inside Foxborough, inside Gillette Stadium. And I also do want to point out, because we're not really talking about him today, last week at Michigan's Pro Day, the Patriots did have an extensive meeting with J.J. McCarthy as well.
Yeah, as they should. Look, you and I aren't as high on him, but they should be doing their homework on all these guys. Like, that's what the job is. So certainly a fluid situation. We got you covered all offseason long leading up to the draft. Less than a month away, a month from yesterday, is the start of the NFL draft. And if you want the best Patriots draft coverage, Rolly and I are here on a daily basis. Rolly's got a new mock draft going out tomorrow on the channel, so be on the lookout for that. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We will continue to keep you guys in the loop. Here's what's coming up in just a moment. Jayden Daniels, the latest on him and how it connects with the Patriots, again with his pro day tomorrow. A couple big pro days coming up for the Patriots scouting department. We'll get to that here in just a moment. But I'll tell you first about our sponsor on today's show, and that is Game Time. You know what sucks? When you think you have tickets to an event after you purchase them online and they never got delivered to you properly, or there was a mix-up, or they came in late after the event started, or maybe you've had trouble buying tickets to meet your friends for a fun night at an event, a sporting event, a concert, whatever the case may be. No more. With Game Time, that is not going to happen. They are your easy and painless way of purchasing tickets to your favorite sporting events, to your favorite concerts, theater shows, whatever the case may be. You can go watch the Bruins, who have been fantastic this year. Plenty of games coming up as they push for the playoffs. Also, you got Red Sox action coming up around the corner. The Celtics looking to lock in that number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Lots of awesome sporting events. And then, of course, football season, Patriots games as well. Here's what you need to do. Download the Game Time app, search Game Time in your app store, or click the link in the chat or in the comments and description of this video, and use promo code CHATSPORTS. It's going to get you $20 off your first ticketing purchase. Last-minute deals for the best price guaranteed. They have daily flash sales as well. The longer you wait, closer to the event, the better price you get, and you get those tickets in real time. Go check them out. Download Game Time today. You will not regret it. Okay, Jeff Howe, who is pretty tapped in, especially when it comes to the Patriots here, of The Athletic. This was interesting. He said the Patriots will have a lengthy meeting tonight with quarterback Jayden Daniels, and that is tonight, Tuesday, with his pro day tomorrow. Per sources, then they'll attend Drake Maye's pro day on Thursday. Now, this is an update that came in, Rolly. So some conflicting information. Daniels' agent Ron Butler says Jayden is not scheduled to meet with any teams prior to the pro day. He is focused on his performance at the pro day. Patriots will meet with Daniels on Wednesdays after. Now, this could just be a communication error where Howe may have been told they're going to meet with him at night, and he took that as tonight, and maybe it's Wednesday night after the workout. Who knows? Or maybe something changed. These guys have a million things going on, and they reschedule stuff all the time. I think the most important thing, Rolly, is that they're going to meet with him. I don't think it really matters if it's tonight or after the workout tomorrow.
It was always going to be them meeting with Jayden Daniels, but the part that stands out to me, and this should come as no surprise that Jerod Mayo is meeting with these quarterbacks, but personally, I like the fact that Mayo is getting heavily involved in these meetings and attending these pro days, watching the two quarterbacks work out and interact with other people in person, because as we've seen over the last 24 years plus, that the relationship between the quarterback and the head coach is very, very important. And even if the head coach isn't an offensive guy, it still matters that those two have a good relationship, because those two are the two building blocks that help you go win football games when it matters most. Obviously, Brady Belichick, Mahomes Reed, you just see it consistently across the NFL. And I think Jerod Mayo should have a pretty strong say in which quarterback they pick. I know it's ultimately Elliott Wolf's the de facto GM for the Patriots' decision, but there is no guarantee that he is going to be the GM in the foreseeable future. It's likely that he gets announced as the GM after the NFL Draft, which Robert Kraft said they'll do or figure that out after the weekend in April. But Mayo's the one that is likely going to be here long term. So to me, I think he should have a big-time say, and being in those meetings, being at these pro days, only allows New England to have a better full grasp of the situation and which quarterback they should take.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the quarterback-head coach relationship for any successful franchise is vital. If it's not good, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter if it's offensive or defense, because sure, Van Pelt and the QB coach, they're going to help develop the player in terms of footwork and the X's and O's and this and that. Sure, Mayo will have some input on that. He'll have a defensive perspective, here's how you can look at coverages, etc. Those things will come down to the offensive staff personnel, but you still have to build that relationship between the head coach and the quarterback. If that's not there, you just don't have a chance as a franchise in this league. It really is that simple. So I do think Jerod Mayo needs to have heavy input. I do think, too, Rolly, in these meetings, there should be one-on-one time with Mayo and these quarterbacks. Just get to know the guy, right? What makes him tick? What does he like to do off the field? What's his personality like? All that stuff is important, because more important for quarterback than anything else, because this is the face of your franchise. You want to know him as a person, not just as a player. So it's definitely important that he's getting involved. I think that's a good sign, but also one that I would have expected, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we've asked this question in nauseum, but once again, get in the comment section and let me know which quarterback you would rather have outside or of these two, Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels. DM for Drake Maye, JD for Jayden Daniels. And honestly, we're going to probably explore this conversation more in depth in the future later this week, but maybe the Patriots will get to choose between the two of them. I don't know if anyone saw, like we said, we'll talk about it later in depth during the week. We just have a lot on our plate here. There's a lot to get to surrounding the Patriots.
Talking points.
But apparently, Tom Pelissero has heard that Adam Peters, the new GM of the Washington Commanders, would not shock anyone if they went J.J. McCarthy at pick number 2. So there is a slight chance. I still think it could be smokescreen season, as we will have a lot of those in the next month, that New England could be choosing between Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels with that 3rd overall pick in late April.
Yeah, I mean, look, that would surprise me. I think it would surprise you as well. But, I mean, Tom Pelissero is, he's one of the big shots in the game. So it'll be very interesting. I mean, if they have the choice at Daniels or May, I mean, that's kind of the dream, because this is a team that will have done extensive research on both, spent personal time with both, and then you just get to choose, which that's what you want, right? Like, I know you could sit there and say, well, don't make us choose. Like, we'll just take who's ever left. Nah, you still want the option at the end of the day. If these are their top 2 guys, if Caleb Williams isn't factored into it, like, you'd love to have the decision. And who knows, like, maybe if both are sitting there, you move down one spot. If a team wants to move up, obviously you have to figure out what Arizona's doing there. But that would be fascinating if J.J. McCarthy goes number 2 and kind of throws a wrench into this whole thing. We'll continue to cover it all. Like I said, Rolly's got a mock draft coming tomorrow. That's already scheduled. Now, if there's breaking news or if there's like a big rumors around what the Patriots are doing, we'll probably push that mock back. But if not, that will go out tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. More videos to come throughout the rest of the week. Until then, go Pats.